Good evening, all. We, on behalf of SREC Alumni Association and the Department of Computer Science Engineering, welcome you for the 58th webinar talk, Cybersecurity. We welcome our principal, ma'am, speaker of the day, Mr. Prasanth Sundararajan, faculty members, current students, and all alumni friends. Mr. Prasanth belongs to the 2012 batch CSE branch. He holds close to a decade of experience in enterprise security. He has guided global business on how to protect information and networks from external and internal threats while complying with security and privacy regulations. He helps the leadership understand security problems that might arise from significant business moves. He has also driven large programs with the goal to mitigate risk while managing the overall cyber risk appetite. He contemplates the possibility of adverse threats, develops cyber strategies, and partners with the first line of defense with an aim to keep cyber risk within the tolerance levels. He had been a speaker at global security events, helping the wired technology fraternity appreciate the importance of cybersecurity. Currently, he works as Associate Director at WebEX. He has previously held leadership positions with EY and Providence Health System, before which he was in association with few startups. Over to you, Prashant.
Thank you, sir. Hi, all. I'm Prashant here. So I think Sir has given a wonderful introduction about me, and yes, that's what I am. I have been with my college duration was 2008 to 2012 batch, and later I started as a freelancing consultant. So I initially worked with the local cybercrime. On few cases I was supporting them in terms of tools and tech, the tracing and all that. And later, like I was, started to work with the corporate clients. So I was an independent consultant. I worked with Thyrocad. Thyrocad was my first client. So we had, set up a small office in Mumbai at that time, and I had my own company. I had predominantly development as a business at that time, which point in time I understood maybe, not my strength. So I moved back to security and had, a few companies which had a mix of like startups from Coimbatore and Mumbai, whom I was consulting for. And at a point in time, I wanted to, get more of an exposure towards the business and also the technology of it, kind of a techno-commercial. So that's when I joined EY, Ernst& Young, one of the big four. So I joined as a senior consultant there. Then I moved up to like manager and senior manager. So I was with EY for quite a period of 3 years until this year, January. I was with Ernst& Young. And my day in and day to job was like manage the global accounts where like we help the Fortune 50 or 100 companies to come up with understanding what is their risk and like how to mitigate it and respond to it and deploy different levels of defense in depth strategies. So this is what I've been like performing, under which like we cover the part of like bigger enterprise security. And later I worked with a company called Providence Health System. So they're a multi-chain hospital, just like Apollo we have in India. So they're a US-based multi-chain hospital. I joined as a lead security architect there, where I was heading a team of security architecture. So we had just set up the base in India, and we started in Hyderabad. So I was, one of the initial hires with the company, and I was going to move back to EY. So down the period of 6 months, because EY had a major account issue, and like I had to move back to EY, and I joined. I was going to join EY Hyderabad, and that's when I again came back to Coimbatore because of some personal reasons. And then like there was this company like whom I was consulting earlier, who have been doing really great in the market in the last decade. Like they started, I think, a decade ago, and they're like one of the best startups in Coimbatore and a global leader when it comes to the public key infrastructure. And they're a funded company. So I joined the company as an associate director to take over the security in terms of product and also the enterprise. So comprehensively, this is like what I've been doing over the years. And for the today's discussion, I have just kept my topic as cybersecurity because that's all I know about, and I've been with. So we all walk from different parts of life, and I did not know what's our background predominantly, like what each one of us do today. So I thought, like, let's keep the topic open because all of us at times, like if not via work, maybe via, like a home or a personal use, we'll be using different uh, endpoints, right? Like, I mean, devices and tech. So we may have a lot of questions, assumptions towards what it comes to like security in terms of these devices. I thought we'll discuss anything and everything around cyber. So with my expertise and experience, like whatever I had come with, so I can share that and we can all, like maybe discuss on that topic. So I get this thing open so we can all, talk together and understand each other and maybe, help each other when it comes to security. So that's the, agenda that I had. So I would like to, like talk more on security. Anybody else who have, anything to like, ask or something, discuss, please. The forum is open. We can, talk about it. So please speak up. So this again looks like, a college uh, place like where we go and do a workshop and then nobody talks except us. We are not from that community. So please keep it open. Let's have, like conversations. This is, a completely informal alumni conversation. I wouldn't expect anything to be formal here, or none of us would expect to. So please talk about anything, like whatever you may want to ask or whatever you may discuss or, kind of debate, whatever. I'm open with it.
Prashant.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, you mean like is your cybersecurity activity related only to institutions? I mean, industries related, or is it like for the surveillance kind of activities also?
So, surveillance, as in like you mean to say something kind of like related to like crime or like cybercrime or anything to do with surveillance devices likewise.
Yeah, something like the cybercrime. Mean something you could help the police kind of activities, or is it something related to the accounts and those kind of activities in the companies?
So that's where it started. My career started with something related to like cybercrime, and that's where it all began. But you see, the part of like playing with it is tech alone wouldn't just do the things there. So a lot of things have changed from 2010 and 2012. A lot has changed. So 2000 every day the security landscape keeps changing, and the kind of work that we did. For example, take Gmail. I want to trace a mail which has come to me, and it was very easy those days. I'll go, look at the original trail mail, a raw text, and I will be able to find the sender's IP address. Google started masking it by 2010 and 12 itself. So we no more, get to see the sender's direct email address. Then we started doing like, we started putting like white images, white background images with the JavaScript in it to find the sender's IP address. And Google started blocking images. So it kept changing every day. And what happened is over a period of time, the law enforcement agencies and they were equipped themselves with some level of tech, and also it needed a legal obligation. So anything I want to do today, I'll have to go and put an FIR to it to request that information, because that level of information, whatever we are looking for, is not available with even the governments. So the governments will go and talk to the separate entities and ask for that information. And the very moment when we talk about this, the government is passing, the new ID rules towards all the corps where Twitter is under, some kind of a claim. So what's happening is that so government wouldn't want to, continuous end-to-end encryption unless they have access to certain things. So the new, ID regulations talk about something where the government can anytime have access to the information if they feel something's susceptible. So this is where most of the tech doesn't totally agree with it, because WhatsApp kind of do not store any kind of a conversation that we personally share. It provides an end-to-end encryption. Even governments or state-sponsored hackers, if they want to do anything, they'll not be able to. Unless otherwise, there's a bug within WhatsApp itself, which time to time we also see WhatsApp is vulnerable, and there are a lot of kind of I give a missed call in WhatsApp to you if I have your number and I already have your conversations coming my way. So if there's a bug directly in the system, yes, we will be able to. If not, we will have to go through, directly that particular entity and request for that information. For that, we legally need to have certain clearances like FAR, court cases, and all that. So this way, what happens is the kind of limitations has come in over the period of time, and our expertise is no more needed unless otherwise we do something great by finding a bug in some bigger system. And technically we can't use it as well because we'll have to report it, else that is also something illegal. So I moved from this space towards securing the enterprise, because business to business is where like cybersecurity is most concerned, rather than like solving it for a normal person. I mean, the law enforcement is there for that, and the business is where the people are needed the most. So I made this switch when I realized like what was changing in the landscape. So I primarily work on only the enterprises now. I mean, any kind of company or product. It doesn't mean like it's product companies or kind of companies which deals with only IT. I have worked with companies like the Novartis, the world's largest pharma. So I led an AppSec program for them, transforming their whole digital landscape towards a cybersecurity program. Similarly, Mayors, the global supply chain leader, and Caterpillar. So I have worked with all sort of companies when it comes to it, and product. I worked with the Uber, where we had the vehicle automation and security for the autonomous vehicles, and IoT devices from Caterpillar. So we have worked across all kind of products and enterprises and sectors, power and energy likewise, and banks, financial institutions, a lot of it. And this is where today's market is. I mean, more than solving an independence person, that's where we have a limited things towards the surveillance capability, and the large number of security and risk is towards securing an enterprise, including colleges and places. Like when I was in college, um, I think it was around 2011 sometime. So I had this small Facebook group, like where when I initially started hacking. So I was interested in, doing some injections on the website and finding it. Those days, we did not have tools to understand what is what. We do, for example, if a website is vulnerable, for that for us to confirm, we need to go manually check it. These days, there are tools. I just give the URL and they give me everything. It'll take a dump and provide it to me. It wasn't like that those days. So the first time I got interested is when I saw some symposium websites of some college. It was showing a MySQL error with the warning error in the homepage itself. So then I understood what it is. It will have some parameter dynamic query to pass on. We go inject some special characters in there. It throws one more error. We identify how many tables are there. Then find out like which is the vulnerable table and check the admin username password. We directly log in into it. So this is where the interest started, but this way of working with security is not going to let us anywhere until otherwise it's something we go and report as a responsible disclosure. So this is where I made that switch towards business than going with the surveillance kind of thing. I hope this answers the question.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, Prasanth, myself, Dr. Thomas. See, I'm from the mechanical background, so I'm not much into your technical terms, but still, as my understanding, we have something called hacking, and we put a terminology called ethical hacking, making it legal, and we have courses for that. But as a mechanical guy, I feel hacking itself is wrong, but still, when we add a term ethical, it becomes good, and courses are available, fine. Now, for example, we use WhatsApp, and if I send a message, something out of error, if I forward something, I'm able to actually delete it. My command in my phone, Android phone, is making or entering into some other's phone, and I'm able to delete it. So can I call that as a sort of hacking as well as a security breach?
Sir, if I may understand right, what you are asking is, for example, you have sent a message to me and you are trying to delete it from your end itself. And you have done this by yourself, not by you. I mean, WhatsApp do not actually have a feature on its own, but you did it. You deleted it by, finding a flaw or something, you deleted it by yourself. So you're asking whether this is called as hacking.
Hacking as well as a security breach.
That's true, yes. If my system do not have the ability, for example, I run the WhatsApp, and if I haven't provided an option where the users can delete the messages which is sent here, to another user, and you have done it by, tweaking some of the configurations or like finding a a security vulnerability, then yes, this is a security breach, and what you have done is, wrong as well.
Okay, so anyhow, WhatsApp is providing that. Okay, another one. See, we
Yes.
have different mailing options, but we are not able to do what WhatsApp has provided to us. So if we send a wrong mail, we are not able to delete it, isn't it?
Yes.
So can this feature actually come future, or is it good, or really
No,
it
sir,
is?
it can never come. The reason being, for example, the feature which you have asked, Google has this feature. So Google has a feature where you can unsend a mail only within fraction of seconds after you send it. It will not be able to control that, action which was performed after it has left the network. And WhatsApp is able to do it. The reason being, both the parties are using WhatsApp here. For example, if I have sent a message from WhatsApp to Facebook, and I will not be able to delete it because those are two different platforms, although I mean practically all of it are owned by like Facebook, right? But the systems doesn't work that way. If you're I'm giving you a portal which is developed by a college. Now you and me are making some conversations, and the college administration decided to have, let us not store any messages for the next day. The previous day messages will not be there for the next day, so they can delete both from our in the user logins only. They cannot do something which we have, we sent a message, for example, mail, how it works is like we can send it to any domain, any mail provider, Gmail to Yahoo or Gmail to Hotmail, anything you can do today. But you will not be able to delete the mail which you have sent to the other person. The only reason being, these are two different networks, two different applications, and controlled by two different separate entities. And they don't have an ability to come inside our network and plant the mail or delete a mail. Unless, again, we have a bug within our system, they will not be able to do it. So that is the only reason why this may not come tomorrow as a feature to everyone. Google sure, gives some of the features, and Outlook gives some. Outlook, there's a message saying like a recall. I send a mail and I wrongly sent it. I want to recall it. It may or may not work. It depends again. The reason being, other end, for example, it will be between two different companies. I try and recall a mail, but only if the person hasn't opened the mail and if there is no signature attached towards it, then I can recall successfully. If not, the person would have already seen it, and there is no point in even recalling. I mean, Microsoft will not be able to control it. If the other person has already seen the mail, then you cannot take it back what is already seen. So that's the way they have said it, the consensus.
Thank you, Prashant.
Yeah, Prashant.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. I'm Dr. Sendamashilvi, heading IT department. I have
Yes.
one question. That is, nowadays we are receiving some messages saying that we'll get a call from a particular number and asking for vaccination details. If
Right.
and then if I'm vaccinated, I have to press some number. Once the number is pressed, automatically my phone will be hacked, it seems. Is it possible?
May or may not be, ma'am. I
Uh,
mean, for example, it depends on what kind of an information that you provide.
okay.
That is because every day we come across something new. But unless otherwise, technically it is proved, we cannot say actually if it's true, because these kind of messages wouldn't, create anything. But scientifically, for example, iPhone released a particular text. Now, if you actually keep that name, there is a particular, text or something. If you keep it as your Wi-Fi name, for example, like I have my Wi-Fi as, um, Prashant's home or something. Now I rename it and I keep that particular name. And I try, my iPhone to connect with that particular network. My Wi-Fi will be turned off from my iPhone indefinitely, and there is no fix to it right now. Apple have released a security patch now to fix this. It was there in the past as well. So these kind of things, these are not even like bugs which how this is only the developers know like why it works that way. The one who have designed the system. So if these are things, which is proved, and this, like we have a validation towards, I mean, it's a practical reason towards like why it is happening, then we can say like how we can avoid it or actually why it is even existing. But these kind of messages, we wouldn't be able to say unless otherwise we practically have experienced it, kind of what information they have requested. Because I by mistake also press some numbers, right? When somebody calls me and by mistake I can press only in the terms of like when we respond to an IVR, the IVR will take the certain inputs from us and process it. And we do have like few injections happening in the IVR system also. That's where like Cisco brings this unified, endpoint management and make sure the IVR is also secure, those lines. But the one example which you have given, we can actually say, how it works or like how it can work if we practically, try reproduce that issue.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, Prashant.
Thanks, man.
So, Mr. Prashant,
Yes, sir.
yeah, for the students they are present here, right?
Yes.
What skill set should they develop? Probably if they want to set their career in the field of cybersecurity.
Right, sir. So as long as cybersecurity is concerned, more of, today, like people who wants to get into cybersecurity, I have seen the college, people who work in college and people kind of, trying to get into that field, going towards some certification, like, learning certified ethical hacking. To be honest, industry never, gives a sign or, acknowledges any of this certification. I worked with like all sort of companies and different verticals, product or startup or like in industries. The thing there is how much we actually know the job. And it's not like we hate certifications or something. We do have certain certifications inside security, which gives a sense of a sign that person if somebody has obtained it. For example, I wanted to do my CISA. I wanted to do it because everybody spoke about it when I got into the field. Then I understood CISA is something for the auditor. So like who would work on the regulations, compliances, and governance part of it. But I'm a person like who don't even know like what it is. I have never gone into that vertical until some point of time in my career. So for the college students, the one thing is security looks at different verticals. Just like we study our computer science, there is security in everything. When we study our networks, there's a part like network security. So network security, it expands into so many levels. Today, there are a lot of devices and other things which has come in. So if someone is interested in networks, they should actually study networks because today in the industry, what we are doing is every day new systems are coming in and new frameworks, everything is coming in. And Salesforce wasn't there certain years ago, like how it is today in most of the organizations. Now I want to know like whether the Salesforce instance we are using it in a secure manner, and whether like what we are doing is right. Whereas I cannot directly get into the system and do an assessment. I need to know Salesforce now. Then only I can say whether I have configured it in the right way. So same applies for anyone who tries to get into security. What we are end of the day going to secure is some system which we have learned out of computer science only, or like mechanical also or electrical also, whatever. Only if you know what is actually the underlying part, you will know like how you can secure it. So I would only advise the people if they're good at development. So there are like large number of like we will split it into like few things, so we'll have more clarity. One is people who are interested in networks. So we have this network security. So the first line of defense, second and third, like it all include networks. And there is something called purple team. So we call it as blue team also. It's only for the defense inside industries. And what we do there is we will watch across the devices what kind of logs are coming in, and we make something called advanced correlation, which means our college has a web server which is hosting our college website, internal websites, and everything. And we have a firewall on and above that. Then we have the ISP. So this is how a request will come inside. Now the defense team, what they will do is they will have this firewall and like a web server. So this is the asset that we have. Any request that comes through firewall and then hits the web server, and it is making some continuous requests in there. So we see like this request is actually the numbers are getting increased in the firewall from a particular IP or something, and it is throttling an API or an endpoint which is hosted in a web server. The request is being made to the web server, and it is going down. Immediately, the defense team automatically the tool will show up saying like, okay, this is a DOS attack or DDoS attack. At the firewall level, we will be able to contain it, or an application level, we can contain it. So who works where is that? A guy who's interested in networks can look at, a bunch of things to do in like security. One is, security towards like networks, where like he can work on firewall rules, configuration reviews. Another thing is like the career looks like we will only start as an analyst in security. The first part, like what we start as in security is analyst. and then we move towards the next thing, engineer. When we call someone as an engineer, it wouldn't just end with what they can analyze. It also, they will have to reproduce the issue, then they will have to provide a fix to it. At times, we have people called roles called security champion, where they are dedicated towards a particular product or a particular application. What they would do is that they find the bug, they also try and fix the bug, and they make sure they document it and they provide it to the business. So the complete process is end to end stays with that one role. So for the people to look at to enter into cybersecurity, yes, a lot of companies are hiring nowadays. Like I know EY has never been to Coimbatore, but last year we started hiring in Coimbatore also. So when I was in EY. So what we are looking at people is that when we hire from the college, so we look at how good are they at one particular part of security. For example, like networks. Do they know what is what? Basically, SSL. Do you know how it works? The cryptography when it comes. Do you know how the key exchange works? And what is vulnerable and why it is vulnerable? We study certain algorithms, in our college, but do we actually know how it works? It is not necessary for us to, recreate, sit and type an algorithm. Security do not demand to, like code something on hand. Not every security job needs that, but if we know to code, then that's when our career will have a greater leap when we, try to later on that technically we will have, companies like Amazon, Google will literally want us to code. They want us to know networks, they want us to know security, they want us to know code, everything. But companies like service companies, Infosys or other companies, they want us to do only the analyst job. So that is where we will end up will remain with us. So what kind of a job I'm looking for is something will let me know what kind of a preparation I have to do. So I know code, yes, good. So learn only the fundamentals, which are the biggest keys when it comes to like development or also security. When I was in college, I know like what I have learned, but I never thought this is something that would come up in life. Today, whatever I'm doing here, anything and everything that I'm doing here goes back to like data structures. Obviously, even like you keep separate the data structures, but the mathematics I never thought it would come. Once when I got into product engineering, there is nothing without certain algorithms there. All that we have studied in there is what like the engineers and architects are reproducing at the design phase itself. So a lot of things made sense here. So it's better for the students to learn fundamentals and be it any branch of it, mechanical or anything. Because right now I go and search for a person who is very good at embedded security for the autonomous vehicles, or like from the mechanical side, I'm searching for someone who is good in IoT for certain clients. We find a very handful of people, and they are from a mixed departments. So anybody who has their fundamentals right and know a bit how it works when it comes to security, that is really enough, sir, for anyone to get into the career of security. And these certifications may give some amount of knowledge, but that's not going to be practical. Because all the good certifications in security will demand the work experience. So I did certified information security manager, and I was able to do it only after I had 5 years of work experience in security. I had to, like had all my employers to like vouch for me. Then I was able to get that certificate. So this is how the industry is today. But a lot of things are coming in. Cloud is the biggest part. We see college kids are nowadays completing certifications on AWS and Azure, and they are we are trying to our existing workforce, we are trying to transform them, move towards cloud. The next generation of the people is completely different. They already know it at the college, and it's easy for us to take that bunch of that layer and easily put them on the job. All that they need to do is from whatever they're learning, a bit of like when it comes to security, how it works is all that they want to know. Like other than that, we wouldn't expect something from a fresher. Yeah, thank you. Any questions from alumni or different departments or like industries? Anyone, any question? If you guys don't want to talk, it's fine. Like if you can put it in the chat also, it's fine.
So Prasanth, this is Saravanan. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So you told that you are providing the enterprise security consulting and all, right? So exactly what kind of service are you used to provide? Say for example, I have a company. I dealing several services with respect to IT side. So what kind of security consulting you provide basically? So just want to understand what the exact work that you are doing for the enterprise security consulting side.
Right. So if you see, like when I say enterprise consulting, right, enterprise security. So enterprise security includes everything, right from the modern and workplace, which is, our endpoints. Today, for example, in your company, you would be using some communication tools. Take this example, WebEx itself. WebEx, Slack, or Zoom, or whatever that we are using. Then comes your SaaS applications. All this goes inside the endpoint and modern workplace for us to communicate and work together, productivity related tools. So securing and configuring those endpoints, including this includes the assets as well. So the endpoint assets which we have, the Windows and the Linux, whatever systems that we have, our servers, all those things will come under the endpoint security. So for that, what we do is, I'll just give you, I'll not get into depth, but I'll just give you details. So what we do here is that we look at, Microsoft security frameworks, for example, Microsoft cybersecurity architecture. So we take it and we review the endpoints and we say like these are the gaps and how we can fix it against it. So this is what we do when it comes to endpoint. Similarly, next going to the application security. So application security, we see like what's already there and we try and implement the secure STLC, which is, combining with your agile framework or whatever the methodology that you have for development, we integrate the secure STLC with it, which is at every toll gate that you have for application development or product development. We say what are all the things that needs to be included from security. For example, before you develop something, you will look at the design. So architecture comes. So in architecture, we do architecture review based on certain frameworks like TOGAF, Zachman, likewise. Next goes to threat modeling. So threat modeling will tell you what is the application's threat landscape before you start developing itself. So what we do there is these are all the threats that this application is going to have. It doesn't mean it already has vulnerabilities. It means that this is what you're trying to develop, and these are the kind of threats it can have. A bank can have a threat of like the cash, the valuables that it stores, and the kind of records it maintains for manipulation. These are all the threats can happen, and how it can happen. So somebody will try and get into the area. So knowing, understanding at a design level, we give the threat landscape. We say what are all the threats it has and how it will happen, and what are all the security sensitive scenarios where you have, what's sensitive information, how an attacker would try and take it. So that comes into threat modeling. So this will get converted into user stories. So all user stories, you put story points attached to it. It will go as a non-functional requirements in your Scrum. Then it get developed as a code. So once the code is developed, then we go for like source code review, where we use commercial tools like checkmarks and Fortify to scan through the code. The analyst will do the secure code review. Then it will get fixed. Then it goes to the QA environment, just like your development, parallelly continues. We go to the QA environment where we do this dynamic testing. So we have some tools like Acunetics and web inspect kind of things, where we run some scan against it and provide you the report. Then we go for the next one, which is final one, penetration testing before the deployment. So manually, people will, the testers will understand the business logic and try to bypass it. For example, you have an OTP. So the OTP, how it works, the OTP logic, or an authentication, you have an OAuth 1.0, 2.0. What are all the vulnerabilities with it? They will understand and they will try and bypass each and every part of the application from the end user perspective, the roles and personas that we have, privilege escalation, horizontal, vertical, all that they will try and do. So this they will do in the PT. The reason why we do this SSDLC, like implementing this is, if you have done everything right in the architecture phase, you will not spend much, in time in fixing the bugs, which comes out of penetration testing. So it's a major return of investment that you get out of doing, continuing this cycle. That's one. This is just the application of software security. Then you go towards SaaS. Now, like modern companies, we all use SaaS. Like there is no more, on-prem installation of no, many of it. But our IT team is not, embarked with a lot of knowledge where they would already know how a product will work. Every company now have a repository, a version control system, and we are not having GitLab Enterprise installed in our, or Altation. So with Bucket installed in our environment. Some use SaaS. And this goes for the mails, this goes for your ticketing system and all of it, ServiceNow, Jira, whatever, right? So these things, whether it is securely configured, and when your company goes for some audit, right? For example, ISO 27K certificate you need. So at that time, what we would do is that I will say that, okay, so for you to have this certification, you will be, like an auditor. There is a set of like controls and procedures where what you will be audited against. So that will require something called segregation of duties. For example, I'm a developer. I want access to a certain privilege system. If you have given me admin credentials for all of the things that someone handles in IT, so the same person can put a request and get the admin privileges also. So these kind of things. When it comes to SaaS, we do not have the visibility today. So creating that visibility and enforcing those policies, that comes inside like SaaS operations management or security, having a visibility on it. Then you move towards the defense part now. Once we all do the assessment, defense. So controls are fine, whether the controls are working or not. Then comes the PCDA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, and all that. So we look at the difference. That's where security operations sectors come in. So 24/7 people will be sitting and monitoring all the assets that the company has. Let me be clear, the critical assets the company has. So they will monitor it and they will say like what are the problems that's coming in. So this is one part of work. And next would be um, security architecture team. So there will be a separate team like which will work parallelly with the solution architects. So that team will design and deliver you the secure frameworks. How what has to come when it comes to a SaaS, when it comes to your monolithic or microservices, whatever kind of thick client or anything that we are developing, how it has to be built in, or like what kind of a framework we are using, and what needs to be thought very clearly when it comes to security standpoint. That would be some. And these are all things that we have been doing, but you say like this is at a very high level, and the requirements would completely change depending on the platform, depending on the tech stack, depending on the use case and everything. I did not go into a solution or a tech platform level. The reason being it changes from company to company, customer to customer. I hope this gives you a brief understanding.
Yes, Prasanth. So basically, a company has almost all the team like secure SDLC, penetration testing team, security architecture, and threat modeling team. All those things maybe exist in the organization. For consulting purpose, you may gap. So where the more security controls or more process can be injected. So those kind of consulting you basically provide, right? So
Yeah.
you are not going to do a vulnerability assessment and penetration testing and all, right? Just seeing the process that they have and trying to identify the gap if there is anything, then you provide this assessment towards that, right?
So, I will take this as a question. Like coming to it, if you say everything is already there in a company, then what we will do there is a capability maturity assessment, whether you have it right for your organization's risk appetite. So that is what we do. If something is already there, like all of it, what we have discussed now, if it's already there, the big corporations already has it, but they don't have a visibility whether they're doing it right, whether they're achieving the expected ROI towards whatever investment they have made on cybersecurity. So that we call it as cyber capability maturity assessment, which we would do. And we cannot, most of the organizations in our experience, they do not have all of it already there. The big corporations like world's number one in a particular sector do not know how many RDPs are there in their system. They don't have any asset inventory for that. So those are also cases we have seen. So depending on the use case requirement, right, towards like what a company has, of course we do like penetration testing assessment, source code reviews, everything, all of that we do. So anything and everything inside this vertical we do. This is a one vertical which we discussed only about the technology. There is completely another vertical which is GRC, the governance, risk, and compliance, where we have the privacy regulations coming in, audits ISO 27K, and then cloud CSA, then going to governance, whether the company has a proper, hierarchy when it comes to security, the third-party risk framework, all those things. There are also the second part of this. So this will, there is a lot in cybersecurity. I only told you a few, like which we are working on correctly. And IAM is a part of it. IAM is a kind of chain of identity which will travel all and across towards the every application that we are using inside the company. So be it Azure Active Directory or Oracle IDP, whatever. So that is one of the service also where I have worked. So yeah, I hope this answers your question.
Yes, got it, Prasant. So, is there any specific standards that you are following? Say, for example, so if you want to analyze the gap for complete security section of organization infrastructure side and application side, is there any few standards that you used to follow, Prasant? Some specific
Yes, we
standards?
do. Yes. So for example, a company wants to know, adopt a standard. Let's call it like you want to adapt a standard for your company. in terms of like, be it application security or DevSecOps or whatever. There are industry known frameworks. Like we have this OASP Foundation, which has already laid out a list of frameworks for each of the, security part of it. Majorly, this is a cultural change for most of the organization. 90% of the organization do not have security right from the inception. It's always an afterthought. So since this is going to have a more of a cultural change, and there'll be a pushback when we, like drop it from the top. So to handle that, we have this industry framework called CALMS, KALMS. So using this framework is the first thing that we do. What would work for us to, implement right now when it comes to security? Then how are we going to measure? How are we going to make the people learn? Then how are we going to share it with, different views inside the organization? That's how we start. And towards application security, how are we going to understand which level of security we have? We have something called ASVS. So it's a security standard and it has up to 4 levels. You would know like where you are by performing an assessment, and there are always metrics towards like rating something. I find a vulnerability. Now I want to know like how severe it is. So we have the CVSS framework, the latest version we would use, and we will say like based on the attack, how simple it is, what is the likelihood, what is the risk impact, we will come to a vulnerability scoring for it. So there are benchmarks and there are frameworks for each and everything that we do there. Specifically, I'm just giving you some examples. DevSecOps, we take DSOM, COMS, and application security, we take ASVS. Architecture, we take the TOGAF one. It has a well-built framework for architecture modeling, and also for security, it has a risk integration management framework also. So it is being adopted by many of the organizations primarily. These are frameworks which is available for us to benchmark ourselves towards the industry or towards the best practices.
Yeah, got it. Thank you, Prasanth.
Anyone else here work in IT or anything related to IT, or someone who works in a different stream, but still they use tech for their work or their personal use? Any questions? Guys, if you don't want to raise anything, you can put it in the chat as well.
Good evening, Prasanth. This is Mohan from IT department.
Yes, sir.
One of my friend is said that he have received a phone call from someone else. After that particular phone call, they said that I am from Naukri. I am a direct recruiter. I have seen your profile in Naukri and all. After that, that person is initially conducting some sample test. Out of that test, he called again. You are the only one person score good marks in the sample test. You have to pay some money for the basic processing of our company recruitment policy. But that my friend is unknowingly pay some initial amount to organization. Initially only they felt that the organization is fake. My question is, how do you identify that initially for that fake emails and fake that particular calls for the recruitment policies and interested for job seekers and all?
Sir, with calls, there is very best that we can do. The best thing to do is like if there's a job description, right? Because most of the fake calling things, they do not provide a proper job description. If there is one, you can easily match it with the company which is trying to hire. The only place is the where the consultancies most of the time they wouldn't reveal. I mean, when I was a recruiter for my organization, when I wanted to hire, I only call it as a big four. I wouldn't give out my name as EY unless otherwise the person clears the first round. There are certain reasons behind it because we wouldn't want to reveal what is the project they are going to work unless otherwise we find them actually, capable of doing that work. So the first round, we will tell the consultancies not to disclose the actual name, but they can call us as a big four. So that's something that we do. So we always ask, the people who are applying for companies to check whether this job description is coming from an actual company or a consultancy. Even if it's a consultancy, you can demand them to give you identification towards like what interview you're going to take. And the interviews are always with the employers who are directly recruiting, not with the consultancy companies. So the consultancies can only screen your profile. They cannot technically assess you towards anything. That thing no company has given, at least as far as I know. and checking with the company's career website directly. There's now, even if you, most of the jobs that people are searching towards is nowadays is either through Naukri or through LinkedIn. But there are a bit of a people who are experienced with the job search. They will not apply in Naukri on LinkedIn. They will directly go apply in that company website only. They will find the opportunity here. They will go apply in the company site. The only reason is they want to make sure that it's an actual job and not like, Naukri or LinkedIn is trying to collect their data. Second thing, putting it there will directly get you access to the direct HR rather than, someone who's sourcing the profiles from the LinkedIn. It could be a social media manager as well. So these are, differences. So it's better to always check the company's identity and also their career portal, whether they actually have that opportunity. All of the JDs come with a code, right? Like job description, JD code they will have. So people will have tally IDs and all that. So it's easy for us to, find it that way.
Basically we know all the details where the hackers are there and where we have received the fake phone call and all, but the job seekers, they are really wanted the job for that particular time. They are not aware that they are original company or fake company. They need that only get a job, they are satisfied and all. That particular time they are more not interested to view in depth and analyze the company and all. That is the why the problem has happened, right?
True, sir. So because most of the cyber crimes are happening only at the two places. One when we are desperate, one when we lack common sense. So I mean, most of the cases, these were the only two primary reasons why things have go south.
Okay, Prashant. Thank you so much.
Mr. Prashant,
Yes, sir.
yeah, like once we get a call and we understand it is fake.
Okay.
Sometimes they call us back because I got a call and we tried to defer it and we said, like, they said they'll call us the next day and they called me back. Under such situations, is there a way like I could approach someone so that it will be easy to trace them?
Yes, sir, we can make it, but the thing is, these are like things which are happening at a large scale. I do not know how it works with the law enforcement now, but we can go and certainly make our, like complaints over there because they're the only people who can, trace that. The nodal systems they have access to. So either they will contact the ISP and ask for the detail, but I mean, a lot of people do not do that. I mean, if unless otherwise it's something, important to them, they'll just block it and go. So that's what I have seen people doing nowadays too. But the only way to reach out to help is, putting it on the cybercrime and, letting them know like what is our problem or adversary with it.
Is there a specific number on the website?
Cybercrime has a website, I believe. For Tamil Nadu, there was specific one, and I think now they had an initiative where across India you can have like one single portal, which will then be routed to like further, districts or states. I do
Okay.
not have it on top of my head, but there was one recently which was launched by the government, though.
Okay.
So Prasant, one more questions from my side.
Yes.
Say for example, you have Android or iPhone. There you can you install several applications, including banking application, GPay applications. So there are a lot of applications. You have some personal details as well inside the phone, photos and so many things, right?
Right.
If I lost my phone or somebody's theft, so what happened? The person can take all the information.
May or may not be. It depends on, how we have set up preferences in the settings. If I have enabled, for example, I have put some softwares which will let me know. Google is there. For example, you have logged in with your Gmail ID when it comes to Android. You will be able to locate your phone. First, if you are not able to locate it, your phone can erase it by itself whenever you have, you go and provide, perform that particular action to erase your phone remotely. You can erase it whenever it connects back to the network. And if you have the PIN and passcode, which is not something obviously guessable based on your knowing you personally, if it's not something the attacker or like someone who took your mobile can easily guess, then it's secure. They will not be able to take anything out because even if you connect with some unless otherwise you have an external memory card, then yeah, everything goes out. So the internal memory is the primary thing with phones nowadays. Even if you connect it to an external device, it will ask you to unlock your phone. So that needs to be done for someone to take the data from your phone. But there are several ways. It's not just, losing your mobile. There are several ways like our data can be taken out. For example, more than about, security gap. It's a feature nowadays provided by many applications. That's why, most of the people Google has come up with a lot of security features in the last like 1 or 2 years. Every time you open an app, it will let you know that it's using your location, or like it will ask you whether or not to allow. So all those has come in now because by default, many applications were using it for granted, unlike iPhone. So iPhone, like we had to give it specifically manually every time so that we acknowledge, yes, I want to give the data voluntarily. So this has just now come in Android though.
Okay. So people are saying that by routing or by jailbreaking, we can get into the system, right? If that is the case, can get the details, Prashant, or while doing the routing or jailbreaking, the data get erased?
No, it will not get erased. So how this works is like, for example, you have a system at your home, which is a Windows PC. Now I want to access your system, which you am not able to because I do not know your password. I take your hard disk out and I connect your hard disk to a Windows machine, Linux machine. So the Linux will understand it as an external drive and it will open everything. If there is a Windows executable file, I will not be able to do anything with it, but I will still have your access to your hard disk basically. So your hard disk, unless otherwise, it is encrypted. That volume is encrypted, you will not have any control over it. If I jailbreak it, what will happen is that the phone will by default most of the times erase. It depends on phone to phone. The motor devices will behave differently, and we call it a stock OS. Any application, any company which takes the operating system and makes some changes to it, they will have their own additional settings to it because Android is open source. Samsung, everything will have different options to it. So it depends how each handles their the jailbreaking or routing method. Some of their devices they are good. They are supportive to open source and kind of testing. So they provide their ways to jailbreak it or root it. So those phones will say this is how you can root my device. So there is a configuration file or something which is available with them. We will lose the data most of the times, but the phone will get rooted. Some of the times it will not get, it will get rooted, but still the data would be available. So it depends on the manufacturer and the operating system that's underlying though.
Yeah, got it. Prashant. Thank you.
Hello, Prashant. This is Ram Sundar from IT department.
Yes, sir.
I have a doubt. Recently, I read an article about Windows 365. That is, Windows is going on cloud in future. Maybe next year they're planning to do. So, what is my doubt is more number of users growing also, and also many users are using all the data in online. So, if the operating system itself goes online, what happens to the security of the operating system? This is one my doubt. The another doubt I'm having is nowadays we are leaving a lot of digital footprint in the internet. Is there any way to erase this footprint we created? Suppose I am using a Facebook for the past 10 years. Suppose even if I delete my Facebook, it is not permanently deleted. That is, my footprint is not, digital footprint is not permanently deleted. By any chance, we can delete it legally, or is there any way to delete permanently?
Yes, sir. So the first question towards the Windows. All of the today's services which I'm using from Microsoft, for example, the O365, the O365 is a SaaS solution that we're using for the past like so many years. At least 3 to 5 years, it's like online, right from when they came up with Azure. So it goes for, if they're taking the operating system online, I see a step-by-step development is already happening because in our endpoint space right now, how the companies work is like the large size companies, we used to procure the laptops, then we will have our Windows copy which we will put, and then we will give it to the employer who joins us. Nowadays what's happening is we in my past organization, we signed up with Windows, so we have this Windows autopilot program. I'll only tell Windows, okay, this is my device, so I have a contract with Dell and I have a contract with HP. So the developers will take the HP, the consultant will take the Dell. So what you do is have my golden copy, install the machine and ship it. So Windows by default, they will put it inside the Dell, whatever the configuration we are saying, they will directly ship it to the developer or like tester, whoever is working in from whatever location. So we moved to upgrade it to this program when the pandemic came in. So we do not want our IT team to sit, work, and do all these things. Let the manufacturer do it from the OEM side. So that they call it as a Windows Autopilot program. The next phase of Windows Autopilot program is the SaaS one, which we are talking about. So even today, although you see physically, something is installed in your machine, it's partial, it's a hybrid one. It's not something, completely installed on your machine, because most of the servers, the company laptops today, I open it, it connects to the AD. So there may be a local copy of, my password hash, but it connects back to the AD and the SSO for all the applications that I use related to the company, or the SaaS applications. So it moving there is something, it's an update, wouldn't look like an upgrade. I mean, an end user will not have any difference at all, even if it happens. And it would be more secure as well, because the patches and everything done directly on the cloud, rather than, our IT team getting into our laptop and doing the fixes, running the patches, GP update, all that. So it works easier that way. And the pricing also may change when it comes to volume and licensing, I believe. And coming to your next question, I'm so sorry, I forgot your next question. What was it?
Digital footprint.
Digital footprint, yes. So I recently did this. What we have to do before get into that step is we make a intel about ourselves. So okay, where are all my footprints? You put your name inside quotations as how you have given it in any portal over internet, and you make a Google search for it. Go to each and every search result, web search result, image search result, everything, and find where and all your profile pictures or anything. I found myself in Bait, so that the Middle East consulting company, or like a Naukri kind of company, something, and large number of places where our profile is being shared, because there is very few accounts which you may have. But using your Google Gmail or using your Facebook, you can sign in into a lot of other platforms like OAuth. They have that feature today. So using that, they will also have your data there. So there is a website which will tell you how you can delete a data with a particular provider that they will give in. And other thing, what they would also tell you is that if you want to remove something from Google, I deleted my LinkedIn profile a month ago. I didn't want to have it live, so I deleted it for some reason, and then I put it back again. So when I deleted it, still Google showed my LinkedIn profile. So there is a link in Google. You have to let them know which URL to be removed, and you have to tell them how do you have authority towards that. So whether it's your information which is there, then you can provide that explanation also to get removed. And I saw that happening in a week's time, it got removed. So none of my photos or profile pictures or anything that came in the internet. So it is doable, yes. And if you want to look for a permanent deletion from Facebook, you can also request for that. Facebook do have that ability, because as a part of privacy regulations, when I collect the customer data, it depends where we are. I mean, India do not have a strong law when it comes to privacy, but we do have something under the IT Act 2000. So what we can do is that Facebook has to obey the law. Although India doesn't have one, Facebook will need to meet the regulations. A user or a customer or an end user do have the rights and ability to remove your information, and also ask for whatever information that you have with them. So there is something called delete me or something. I will just ping you the URL, check for that and ping you the URL. So there you can go and check for it. So whatever the information that they have, and how you can identify or request a copy of the information, any service provider you are using. So they are obliged to give that information to you.
Yes, thank you, Prasanth. Thank you.
Prasanth, I hope you have 5 more minutes to spare with us.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, thank you. So one last question from me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, with respect to security, most of us have a habit of having PIN for our Android mobiles or something, a year of birth. Like if I am 1990, like 1990s birth year, I just put my PIN as 1990. So I think average IQ guy go for that. So is there any technique to have a password so that to actually to breach that it is difficult? Can you suggest some sort of combinations to set a password?
So basically, it depends, right? Because I can tell you a complex password also or an application to help you on that, but it depends like how far you can remember it. And also, in terms of like securing your phone or like your computer, whatever, it depends on how critical it is for you. I can suggest, if you can keep a combination of, I mean, years ago, I had a, like a class when I joined my first employer, when I joined into a job which needed a security clearance, I was put through a training. Some of the secure password, it surprised me because one of the secure password was parts of this table is sick. That was the password. So it doesn't have any special character, it doesn't have anything at all, and this is also not something which someone can guess about you, right? So those are all different ways in which they have educated us when it comes to creating strong passwords. The number of characters matter, the number of things matter, but your local phone or your local machine, for that, using an alpha numeric character is good. Something, a common example, not from your own personal life, could be something common to like everybody, like, clothes or like treadmill or shoes or something, anything. It's good. Doesn't, if the password doesn't trace back to you. For example, sir uses this car. So if you keep your car name or a brand name and then put some hashes, characters towards it, right? Then it's also guessable. So to keep something very common, and something nobody can think that this could be a password, those are all the good ways to remember and also keep it safe.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Prashant, in addition to the Thomas sir question, suppose if we have a lot of password for a lot of application, whether we have to save those password in mobile phone or an email, whether it is safe?
uh, Rather than directly, I mean, there are applications, there are softwares to like save your passwords, like one pass or lost pass. Those things are there. So we can use that. And if you have so many passwords to remember, our browsers, obviously, it has the capability nowadays to save our passwords. So Chrome is like able to save our password and all that. It has also made it secure. Like from the past, like we have come a lot across like saving these passwords. You can use those independent softwares or something like this, and it's always to like better to have the backup codes saved somewhere than actually having the original password itself saved. So Google provides you the two-factor authentication. So when you're more concerned about your data, there are like options available like two-factor authentication. You just need to download this application called Authenticator, or like Google has its own authenticator application. You have a Gmail, you can keep a two-factor authentication. You have a Hotmail or Zoho or Facebook. All of these today have two-factor authentication. Apart from giving your password, you also need to give that key in there. Anytime you log in from a new browser, or like if you cleared history on your own browser, it will ask you again. So, or
Yes.
a new location, it will ask you. So it's good. The first control would be an MFA. The second control would be, storing your backup codes. Only in the worst case, like none of these capabilities are available with the applications you use, then you go for like storing your password somewhere. That could be, a better place, like, this one pass and lost pass kind of softwares.
Okay, Prashant, thank you.
Thank you.
So, audience, if you have no other questions, Prashant sir and Vasanth sir, shall we go for the closing remarks? Yeah. Thank you, Prasanth Sundararajan of Batch 2012 CSC, for being here for this webinar number 58 and giving a talk on cybersecurity. Thank you so much. SREC Alumni Association is proud to host you for this webinar number 58. Thank you, audience, for being with us. Thank you, Krishna Kumar sir from the Department of Computer Science, and Grace Silverani ma'am, head of the Department Computer Science, for roping in Prasanth Sundararajan for this webinar talk series. Thank you, Prashant. Though we gave a very short notice to you through Krishna Kumar, thank you for being here and making this evening a wonderful memory. Thank you, audience from all over the globe and spread across different batches, and student friends and faculty members. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Thomas.
sir.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
everyone.
So today we will miss the kids session because Padma Shri from Singapore is held up with some official works. So maybe excuse that. We will have it postponed to the next talk. After the next talk, we will have the quiz session. Yes, next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.